Now, I mentioned Ursula von der Leyen because in the last hour, the European Parliament has re-elected her as Commission President, handing her a second five-year term at the helm of the EU. Now, there were fears that she might lose the vote, but she did secure the backing of 401 members of the European Parliament in Strasbourg, 41 more than she needed. Among those who voted against her were the 24 MEPs from Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni's party. Well, here is the moment that the results were announced.
Here is the result of the vote. Members voting 707. Majority of component members 360. Votes in favour 401.
So a little bit earlier on today, the moment that Ursula von der Leyen was re-elected once again to be the president of the European Commission. Maria de Mezis is a senior fellow at Bruegel, which is a Brussels-based think tank. And I got her response immediately after Ms von der Leyen's re-election.
A remarkable result, actually. I thought it was going to be tighter than that. And I had not excluded the possibility of the vote failing today and having to go to a new vote in September. We were all thinking that this was going to be the outcome, but it hasn't. And this is actually a remarkable result for her, which means that the last 4 weeks or so, she had contacted everybody, just about everybody in the EU, and offered something to them for a vote, and it's paid out.
It certainly has paid out, because just ahead of this vote, she had a blow. She was criticised in a vaccine transparency judgment, referring back to the times of COVID. She was criticised for not being transparent enough with the public about COVID-19 vaccine contracts. And given that this was a secret vote, so regardless of what MEPs may have said to her face to face, they could have done it. They could have voted against her. But she seems all of that work has paid off.
Absolutely. And remember also that President von der Leyen is associated with a crisis president. She had to put up with two very remarkable crises in the EU, the pandemic first, and then, of course, the energy crisis and the cost of living crisis. She has been accused of not being transparent, but she had to do everything very, very quickly back then. And she scored a number of successes during the pandemic. The vaccination, the creation of the vaccines in record time, putting together a program of support to the next generation EU has been a remarkable success for her. So yeah, it's all weighted in positively for her at the end, despite the fact that she had some hiccups along the way.
And just in terms of when she spoke earlier, she talked about letting us make the choice of strength. She talked about a European democracy shield. She very much put the focus on defence and security, not least because of what we are seeing in Ukraine. Do you think that's what pushed her over the edge and that's what got her this victory?
Possibly. I think it is correct what she said, that some continuity in policies would have been is actually desirable, given that we still have a war in our borders. And in that respect, she represents that continuity. And she's announced a number of measures that will be different in the second term. And most of it has to do, the new measures have to do with the way that the European Union will deal with issues of defense, Ukraine in particular, but defense more generally, with the biggest change, of course, being the announcement of a new Commissioner for Defence. We need to see the details of what this role will entail and how this role will be split between a new defence commissioner and the High Representative. This isn't trivial, but we will see more of that in her State of the Union in September, now that we know that she's through. But this is, in fact, the big thing that she will do will be on defence.
And climate policy as well. That's another thing that she's been very vocal about. She says that she is very much committed to the Green Deal, but we saw what happened in those June European parliamentary elections. So many Greens losing seats in that last election, but she will persevere. And they were pretty angry with they weren't all that supportive with her. Somewhere they must have changed their mind.
That's true, but on the other hand, I think that the green policies are kind of plain vanilla policies now in the European Union, meaning that the fact that the Greens have lost does not mean that the Union in itself does not support accelerating green policies. All other parties are very much in favor of that. And perhaps that's also one of the reasons why the Greens lost, because they have lost a little bit of their raison d'etre. On the other hand, this was the good news and continuity, great continuity in climate policies in the EU. And if, dare I say, also accelerations, what we heard President von der Leyen saying this morning, she will accelerate policies on climate, which is very good news.
So that was Maria de Mertzis from the Bruegel, Brussels-based economic think tank, speaking to me just after Ursula von der Leyen was re-elected. And just to bring you a line, she has been speaking and she has saying that our democracy is under attack, but we are all working together for a strong Europe. Well, she's got another 5 years now in which to achieve that. From me and the team here on BBC News. Bye-bye.